Good evening. Welcome to the Boise Bus. I'm your host, David Logan. It's just gone after 7 o'clock on this fine Tuesday, so you know what that all means. It's the Tuesday ticket. And, as always, I'm joined on this lovely Tuesday ticket with there's plenty to talk about with Mr. Phil McGinley and Regan Stevenson. Boys, how the devil are you?
I'm doing good, David. A busy weekend. Seeing some music, but it was a good weekend. I enjoyed it.
I saw that. I saw you were at Transmit, mate. I seen that. You enjoy yourself?
I enjoyed it.
Calvin, you're hanging out with Calvin backstage. I bet you were. Big celebrity.
No, I did see some people that enjoyed the Boise Bus. They did pop over to see me.
See,
Oh, lovely. Nice
celebrity, mate. We've got a celebrity on the show. Phil, what were you doing this weekend?
Practicing my Spanish and wearing a sombrero and practicing the Macarena and whatnot. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Sunday night was it was a good finish. It was a happy ending, shall we say? Put it that way.
Not one of those kind of happy endings, but it was a good.
Not one of the ones. No.
It was Spanish we're watching, not the Philippines. Swiftly moving on. Did we all enjoy the tournament overall? It was a good tournament. I mean, I know there was a lot of stuff online giving it was one of the worst tournaments in
No.
Well,
2010 World Cup was by far worse than that. But I enjoyed it. I thought though the best games were definitely when it was like a Eastern European team like Ukraine and Georgia and Albania, because these teams just went for it and there was no fear in them. So they were the best games. And in fact, the Austria against Turkey game, Turkey were good value to watch, I thought, but that Austria-Turkey game in the knockouts was superb. Just two teams just going all guns blazing. So, yeah, I can understand why people were saying, because the big teams were a bit too robotic in the way they played. So you want to see the superstars playing at the top of their game. But I think overall it was still an enjoyable tournament. But the good stuff starts now.
That's it.
Yep.
The club football is back. But before we get talking about all the club football stuff, we've got all the good stuff to get through. So give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair. Become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All the content is absolutely free. There's no added extra. This is just your way of supporting the bus, keeping the wheels on the road. Big shout out to piesports.com. Get on there, get your tasty pasty treats for a small cost of 12.5% is added. I'm getting all my door up. 12.5% in the checkout. Yeah, you get 12.5% off. You don't get
12.5% added on. Wait a minute.
There's something not right there. But yes, get on there, get your pies, 12.5% off with Bus 1888. There we go. Enjoy them. They're good. They're very good. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything, Phil. Yeah,
that's it.
Bug it.
That'll do.
If I missed anything, then I'll give it another go next week. Right. There's not been any announcements yet. However, they might as well have, because we've seen a certain goalkeeper, now former goalkeeper of Aston Villa, Sinisalo. That's his name, isn't it? Yep. Viljami Sinisalo. So apparently Celtic are set to confirm their signing of Sinisalo on a 5-year deal within the next 48 hours. But we've all seen the picture during the rounds, Phil, of him in that stunning Adidas Celtic training gear, which will cost you an arm and a leg, I'm sure, if you want to look like our new goalkeeper. So he was on loan at Exeter last year. Regan, you were telling me he had the highest save percentage in League One last season. So that's all good news. 22 years old, Finnish international. He played against Scotland at Hampden in one of the friendlies for the Euros. Phil, I'll start with you. What's your overall feeling about the signing of Sinisalo? I imagine he's going to be our number 2. If reports are to be believed that Kasper Schmeichel is also on his way, but we'll get talking about him soon enough. What's your thoughts on our newest arrival?
I'm in favour of it. optics of it look good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a connoisseur of English League One watching Exeter City. I can't exactly say that I've been keeping tabs on them. I do remember back in about the springtime, there was talk that Celtic were looking at an Aston Villa keeper. Obviously, it wouldn't have been Martinez, but I think a lot of people thought it was Olsen, who I think's their number 2 keeper. And I think around about that time, he had a bit of a shocker in the Conference League against Olympiacos, which made me think, God, is it him? But it turns out those rumours, it's one of those ones where a rumours started or it came from somewhere and people haven't got the full information. It was an Aston Villa keeper that we were looking at, but it wasn't Olsen. It was obviously their third choice keeper who was out on loan at Exeter City. And I'm happy with it in the end because obviously we're going to get to talk about Kasper Schmeichel, but when we were obviously, when his name came up that we were going to get Schmeichel, my first thought, I actually said this to my dad, was I'm all right with Schmeichel coming in, but what I want is for Celtic to, in January, so I put it to January, saying they need to get another keeper in who is a long-term vision. And surprisingly, a guy who can be, bled in and be mentored by Kasper, but incredibly, they're actually doing it this window. What's happened? What? When did this suddenly happen? When did this change? But yeah, just out of nowhere, it seems like they're actually doing something a bit progressive when it comes to a transfer. So I am in favour of it, and I'm looking forward to how this works out. But the optics of it initially look very, very good. The way they're going about it.
Regan, Phil pretty much nailed it there. It's Celtic acting like a big club. With forward planning going on. We will get on to talk about Kasper Schmeichel, who looks imminent to be joining us as well. But we'll stick to the Sinisalo discussion just now. Do we give the board credit for this, or is this a Brendan Rodgers? Do you think this has got Brendan Rodgers all over it, saying like this is if we want to start acting like a big club, I wasn't happy with the guys that you were bringing to me. I'm wanting my man Kasper in just now. However, there is another guy that I'm interested in who will certainly benefit from having a goalkeeper of the calibre of Schmeichel coming in, and therefore it's future plan. He's 22-year-old. He's already playing international football. Who looked, I've only seen him play that one game, but I remember watching the game. Like I said to you, I was like, that Finnish boy looks not bad. At no point did I think at any point that Celtic would be being linked with him anytime soon or ever. So it was quite a surprise when Phil actually pointed out to me, Regan, that he was the boy that played at Hampden. Can we give the board credit here, or is this a Rodgers production, you reckon?
I think it's a bit of both. I think you can say Brendan Rodgers is starting to do what I thought he would do this time last year. And he's starting to put his stamp on the squad. I think also you need to say well done to the board as well, because they are actually taking on instructions from Brendan or what you could possibly say as well, as that they're learning from their past mistakes as well. So I think it's a great move for all parties. I know people were saying about Scott Bain and stuff, but I think Scott Bain, he's just glad that he's able to be there and be there as a good goalkeeper. So I'm just pretty happy that Celtic have been progressive. And we did speak about last Tuesday on the Tuesday ticket, David, about Schmeichel, because I mentioned that Brendan Rodgers mentioned him on Friday night when he was asked by a reporter at the match, and he said he's a very good goalkeeper. And I think one of the things you mentioned, I actually mentioned that he'd be a good influence around the dressing room. And I still believe that's something that Brendan Rodgers has probably thought about, and he's thought, I know people that watch Celtic all the time probably don't think about this, but I think as well, David, you need to remember that Joe Hart, he probably did a lot for the players in the background. So I think, and it's something that you mentioned probably for the last 12 months now, and we spoke about that. A lot of managers tend to go for players that they've worked with before, and that's what Brendan Rodgers has done here as well. And this is another great example. I'm just hoping that he does as well as Scott Sinclair did, and a lot of these players that Brendan Rodgers has brought in, because I think it's a great move. Because I know people say, well, he's a bit older than Joe Hart and stuff. But that's a guy that's still playing at the European Championships from Denmark, still playing to a high level. And I think as well is that he gets so much experience that he can pass on to these players and make them so much better.
Absolutely, mate. But sticking with Sinisalo just now, McLaughlin P says, I want to see Sinisalo fighting for the shot this season. That's fair. I wouldn't want a goalkeeper to come in and just accept that he's going to be just sitting on the bench, just sitting under Schmeichel's wing there, like just not wanting to play anything. Certainly would like to think that just being in and around that company will spur him on to be getting some game time. My only concern, and I understand why we're getting him in, and maybe we'll bleed him in throughout the season, and then hopefully whether Schmeichel gets extended for another year or Sinisalo does become the heir to that throne. Exeter to Celtic, quite a big jump in expectation and pressure on such an important position. So I mean, hey, he might thrive in that. We don't know yet, but obviously it is a big jump to go from League One playing for a club like Exeter City to Kasper Celtic. But I'm fully on board with that, though. I would like to see him at least put some pressure on him, if he gets some cup games and shows what he's capable of. And I think we've all probably looked at the clips on YouTube of some of these unbelievable saves that he makes, or that he's made. I'm sure there's a few howlers as well, like every goalkeeper has, but we can only work on what we've seen so far. I think it's a good move overall, Phil.
Yeah, I think there's only so much you can learn in the training ground and in the dressing room. The only thing he's really going to push on with development is a live match experience, and it's going to have to be the cup games. We're going to have to utilise that. Now, whether Brendan just plays him in games against weaker opposition, or does he actually fully commit to, if we go all the way in the League Cup or the Scottish Cup, you're in goal for that one? Because clubs do that. I know that we've done that in the past. Scott Bain basically got a break from basically dethroned Craig Gordon because he played throughout the Scottish Cup campaign and eventually became the number one keeper under Brendan at the sort of tail end, and it continued under Lennon, didn't it? But yeah, that's probably the best way to get him that. But I say Brendan has to be very much back him in the sense that if it's so good if we draw, say, I don't know, a lower league team like Raith Rovers or something like that in the first round of the League Cup, and he plays in that one, but then in the next round we've got like a tricky away tie to go to Tynecastle, play Hearts. There's like, oh no, get Schmeichel back in for that. How does he manage that one? Does he just, because at the end of the day, the player will get a confidence boost by being told that you're going to play every single cup game that we play, regardless of who we draw. Say, even if it was Rangers at some point along the way. If the boy's already playing for his national team, he's got a few caps for them. Say he pulled out a blinding save in the last minute against Scotland to deny Tommy Conway. Unbelievable save. That was phenomenal, that one. So he's definitely got ability, and I say if he's playing at English League One level and still getting caps for a national team, who, by the way, keep in mind Finland were at the last European Championships as well in 2021, so they're not, a million miles away from getting into these types of tournaments. So they're not like, an Andorra or a San Marino or something like that. They're not a bad side at all. So I think he's I think we will see him at times during this season, but I think it's most likely it's going to be League Cup and Scottish Cup games.
I can't really think who the other goalkeepers at Villa are, Regan, but you're quite surprised that Villa were quite happy after such a successful season. But at Exeter, that they were quite happy to let him go and maybe not. He's getting nowhere near the number one jersey, which we understand that. I think Martinez is arguably the best keeper in the world at the minute. There's arguments to be had there. I think. He's just won another Copa America.
Yep.
But he's getting nowhere near the number one jersey. But you thought maybe just on the performances, I'm quite surprised Villa weren't even interested in having him as the new backup. But maybe someone can educate me on who is their backup goalkeeper at the minute.
Robert Olsen
from Roma.
Okay.
Swedish guy.
Yeah. He's a bit of fair age as well, is he not?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm quite surprised that they were quite willing to let him go, but maybe Villa obviously got their eyes on someone else to replace Olsen. Who knows? But we don't care about that. Yeah, good pedigree. He's obviously, I don't know how long he'd been at Villa, if he's come for the youths there or not. I mean, he's a young boy, obviously 22 years old. But somebody asked the stats in terms of appearances. What I've got in front of me here in League One, he played 49 times for Exeter City with 13 clean sheets. And it also says here he played in 5 League Cup games and he got 1 clean sheet for them as well. So, and the EFL Cup 5 appearances, 1 clean sheet. I mean, plenty of experience he's had playing a competitive. It's a competitive league, League One. You know, it's not. We know Matt O'Reilly's came for that league. He was shoulders above everybody in there. But it's a competitive league. So plenty of. And is it 2? Is it right? The same as the Championship. They play 2. Is it Wednesday, Saturday, or something? Is that what they do in that league as well?
Tuesday, Saturday, David. Yep.
The Tuesday, Saturday for League One. Fair enough.
24 teams in that division. The 3 English lower divisions are all 24 teams, so they all have the same schedule. It's packed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of games under his belt. So I'm happy with the move from Celtic. Like I said, if he's going to be being mentored by a player of the caliber of Kasper Schmeichel, it's pretty shrewd business from there. I'm pretty happy with it. So let's talk about Kasper Schmeichel, Phil. It is being reported that he was going for a medical today in Italy, and everything goes well there. He will be flying out to the States to meet his new teammates. So hopefully we won't have Scott Bain starting in any friendlies.
Poor guy.
Scott. Right, let's be honest. Let's talk about our feelings. How did we feel? Because it was very mixed, certainly online, certainly in the group chat. We got plenty of debate going on in the group chat about it. Even I got into a bit of a debate with one of my friends as well about the signing of Kasper Schmeichel. Personally, quite happy with it. At first, I was a bit like, "Oh man, he's 6 months older than Joe Hart." But at the end of the day, we're talking about we're replacing a 37-year-old with 38-year-old. I mean, brilliant business, Celtic. But in the grand scheme of things, especially when you see the progressiveness looking forward in terms of signing the second goalkeeper, it seems like a good move, Bill. I mean, we're talking about a player that's won the Premier League. He's won the FA Cup. He's been the Danish number 1 for years, playing at the highest level. He still looks like he's got it from what we've seen in this Euros. I mean, I was quite disappointed to see some people talking about living off his dad's name. I mean, come on, I've just listed off the FA Cup and the Premier League that he's won at Leicester. I think he's done more than enough to come away from his dad's shadow. And the other argument I've had with my mate was, if Joe Hart had decided after the season that he just had, actually, I quite fancy one more year, how many of us would have been quite happy with Joe Hart staying on for another year? So I think we're getting a player of similar level just coming in and being that stopgap until the right man is ready to be our new number 1. I'm happy with it. Phil, what was your initial thoughts right from the start? Did you have to think about it? Did you have to stew on it for a bit? Or were you quite happy right from the get-go?
My initial thoughts, because his name came up last week, and I think when I did the TNF last week with Mark, his name came up again. And my first thought was, I wasn't keen on it, not because of his lack of ability. I just felt like it was the classic meme of the water tank that's leaking and he just sticks the elastoplast on it. And it's just a temporary fix. To me, it was like a 37-year-old retiring and then another 37-year-old coming in. It's a short-term fix, essentially, as the way I looked at it. But again, putting into now the context of everything that's going on, I can now sort of see the vision of what it is. So now I'm like, okay, I get what's going on here. I can see it. So he will do, I think, a good job. As you say, he's currently Denmark's number 1. We were recently linked to an Irish boy as well, who has no caps for Denmark, and people were pining for us to sign him. So yeah, this is the guy who is Denmark's number 1. He has got, as you say, he's carved his own legacy, regardless of his second name being Schmeichel. He's won the Premier League, he's won the FA Cup, and I know some people also have said, I mean, but the highest he's ever played for is Leicester, and it's like, but Leicester, you can't just tarnish that. But they did win the Premier League, regardless of that season where every other team did seem to be off it. Chelsea, City, Arsenal, United, they all seem to be off it that season, but Leicester still had to be remarkably consistent to pull that off, and they were, and he was a massive part of that. He is the last line of defence. They only lost, I think, like 3 games or 4 games all season, and he played, as a goalkeeper in every one. So he is a top draw keeper. He's still got a bit of ability about him. The one thing you did bring up last week was obviously there was some issues when he went to OGC Nice. Now, we don't know all the context of that. It could have been a falling out with the manager, whatever caused it. But it does seem like over the piece, when you look at his time at Leicester and that, there was never any issues about him there. It's just maybe been he's went to the wrong club at the wrong time in Nice. And I know some people have to say, maybe read into that, so he could be a bad influence. But Regan did say about him being I think he will be a positive influence. I think he will be a good voice in the dressing room, and he will take that mantle from Joe Hart, a leader out in the park. He's definitely got that about him as well when it comes to similarities with his dad. He certainly likes barking at his defence, because Peter Schmeichel was notorious for that, for giving his defenders a good grilling. And it looks like Kasper's picked that trait up as well. So worries about him communicating on the park with the players.
Yeah, I want to touch on what you said about him. Obviously, it didn't work out for him in France. It just seemed like a weird, everything that was going on at that club seemed a bit weird, almost basket case-esque. Like, they signed a whole load of players that didn't seem to kind of work. Who's the other English boy? He's now at Ross Barkley. Yeah, they signed him that season as well. Am I right in saying it's the boy that's bought Sir Radcliffe? Is it not him that owns them?
Ineos, yep, they do. Yep, they've got some sort of say in it. Yeah,
but man, obviously it didn't work out for him. But I did a wee bit of research because he went to Anderlecht because Boyce's in the chat tonight, and he said Schmeichel's been playing, I'd argue, to higher level than Hart the last 5 seasons. And that's correct, obviously. He did go to France and he did play a few games before the fallout. And then, obviously, was shunned there. And to get out of that situation, he managed to find himself at Anderlecht. And obviously, could argue the Belgian league at the minute is a higher standard than where Celtic are currently playing in the Scottish League. And I did wonder, why did he go there? And well, it turns out that Brian Reimer is the head coach at Anderlecht, and he's a Danish football coach who had been the assistant coach at Brentford under Thomas Frank, and he'd also previously managed the Danish national side. So there's another manager, including our own, that has worked previously with Schmeichel, obviously at a national level, that felt he still had something to offer his club, playing at a high enough level, I feel, and he played quite a fair amount. I've actually got it here. So he'd played, where is it? In the Pro League, he played 31 times, and he also played in the league, in the Pro League, and he also played in the Belgian Cup, and obviously 2 games at international friendlies, and in the Euro Championship. So he's not like, we're not buying a player like Joe Hart, who Regan didn't play much football until he signed for Celtic. We're getting a guy that's played a whole season's worth of football at Anderlecht at a good competitive level, and just played at the international Euros, coming straight in for the Euros, getting his medical today, and getting straight into training again under Brendan Rodgers. I mean, I think it speaks volumes that we've had him. That his former Danish manager felt inclined to bring him and be his number one last season, and I think it's worked out well for them, and it's worked out for Schmeichel, and hopefully the same again is going to happen for us until someone else is ready to take over as the number one keeper.
David, I think you're spot on with everything you said there. I think people are just wanting a younger, fresh name. But I think if you said to people 2 or 3 years ago, you're getting Kasper Schmeichel, they'd be saying, what a player you signed. You know, that this is a guy that has won the Premier League, probably the best Premier League that anybody's seen in the last 20 years there, being around the Premier League. So I just feel like sometimes people can be overawed, because this was a guy, Joe Hart, that nobody wanted. when Celtic first wanted him at the club. So I just feel like sometimes you can be reactionary. You can say, "Oh, it's a bad move," and that. But me personally, I think Brendan Rodgers has probably had a chat with him at the start of when Brendan Rodgers knew that Joe Hart wasn't going to be available, and he thought, right, who can I bring in? And I'm sure that Schmeichel was at the top of the radar because he's got so much experience there, and I'm just looking forward to seeing him play for Celtic as well.
It's a huge name that's joining the club, Phil. There's no getting away from it. I mean, one of my barbers, Cola, she's not a Celtic fan by any stretch of the imagination. And when I told her we're signing Schmeichel, it looked like we're signing Schmeichel anyway. Like, she couldn't believe it because she loved his dad and loves him too. So she was like, "Oh, I'm going to have to come to the Celtic game because I just love Kasper Schmeichel." It's a bit weird, but I'm like, "All right, cool, you can come along, I'm sure." But like it's a huge name, and we're still, yes, okay. Some people might argue it's maybe one last payday, but you could get one last payday out in Saudi Arabia, which I'm sure think it was reported that he could have went there. He probably could have went to the Championship and got paid more than we'll be paying him. Who knows? I mean, Joe Hart took a wage reduction to come play for Celtic to win trophies. Kasper Schmeichel maybe has done the same. You still can't get around the fact that Celtic Football Club is a huge draw for players. And when you've got guys like Joe Hart telling people on podcasts, if you can experience it even for a year, you need to go and do it. And I think that's maybe part of it. I'm sure Rodgers, somebody said in the chat earlier, he wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers has had Schmeichel up his sleeve this whole time. Well, we can only wait and see. Maybe Celtic would like to announce some of these guys at some time.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they put out some sort of official thing right now, but it's sort of the worst kept secret right now. But yeah, it could be that Rodgers has had this one planned all along, maybe even a year ago when he first came back to Celtic, but maybe Schmeichel just went into Anderlecht at that point. Maybe he just thought, keep your options open, because it was only a 1 year deal that he signed at Anderlecht, and obviously he's decided to move on after that. So you never know how long this has been in the works. And yeah, it's nothing wrong with a manager going back to somebody he knows and trusts. There's been plenty of examples over the years, so it's say Wim Jansen and Henrik Larsson comes to mind. Lubo Moravchik and Joseph English, ring any bells? Yep. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with a manager going back and getting somebody that he can trust and he knows from his past. And they've had some success at Leicester together. The only reason I think he left Leicester as well is due to their financial problems. If you also look at the timeline there, because obviously after the chairman was tragically killed in that helicopter crash and the son took over, I don't think the investment's been as high. And then after COVID hit, and obviously their whole income is all around, airports, duty-free shops at airports. That's what King Power is, essentially, out the Far East. And obviously that took a massive hit. So it's no coincidence that Leicester's investment went down massively and they had to cut a few corners. And I think Schmeichel might have been one of the higher earners at that stage. So, that's probably why he left at the time that he did. Because he was very much the number one goalkeeper there, and then it became the infamous Danny Ward, who thankfully, David, who you'd been fearing for weeks on end, that Danny Ward was going to end up at Celtic. You can now breathe a sigh of relief. It's not Danny Ward.
Yes, thank God. Thank God. Right, well, we'll move on now. I was going to leave this till later, but it's getting discussed in the chat just now, so we'll bring it up. There was an Instagram post put out by a certain Adam Ida that's now obviously speculating that he's on a flight to Glasgow. It's not been squashed yet, but there's a lot of people contradicting that by saying that Norwich are away to, I think it's Belgium. Is it Belgium for a friendly pre-season tour? So I don't want to be that guy, but I think it's probably a case that he's off to the pre-season camp there, because I do think Norwich are still obviously not. I don't think we're that much further forward than we were last week from what I've been reading. Bit naughty of Adamida if that is the case, though, getting us all worked up. But hey, you never know. Phil, is that all it is? Just him being a bit naughty going off to Belgium, getting us all getting our knickers in a twist about it.
a term you'll understand, David. He's working his brother. He's working his mate. I'm still pretty confident he's going to be a Celtic player. I think he knows what he's doing there. Wee bit of mischief. And it's going to happen eventually. Obviously, from our point of view, we are impatient as football fans. We want it all now, but I think it will happen. Regan did, of course, say a couple of weeks ago, 15th of August. I think it will happen before then, but yeah, I'm pretty confident Adamir will be a Celtic player, and he is. He's just at it. I think just now. I think they're just ironing out a few more details, and it will get over the line.
I think Phil's right, Regan. I think it is. I mean, I think he is going to sign it now that O has left the building. Officially, has become a Genki, as they put it on their Twitter. He's now officially a Genki as O. We only have one designated striker at the club again. So I think Brendan will be really pushing to get this deal over the line ASAP, because I don't want. My worry is that we go out to the US of A and Kyogo Shoulder decides to go for a wander again, and then we have nobody. So I'd like to think we're getting that deal done ASAP. Well, quick touch on O leaving the club, Regan, and then obviously what your thoughts are on Adam.
I think in terms of O, I think there was a lot of promise. I think he had big shoes to fill with Giakoumakis, but I don't think he lived up to those expectations. I think obviously it was great when he scored a lot of goals, but a lot of his goals that he scored, David, he scored in 4-0 wins when Celtic were already 3-0 up and stuff like that. So he wasn't scoring massive goals that you could go, oh, he scored a goal to make us beat Rangers or beat Hearts or beat Aberdeen. So I think in terms of that, I don't think his legacy is going to be great, but yeah, I think in terms of Brendan Rodgers, I think that's probably somebody that he said to the board, right, you need to get these players off the wage bill, and then hopefully they can bring some more money in to try and recoup that on someone like Adamida, who I do think will sign for Celtic. David, like you say, I'm predicting the 15th of August. Imagine I was it the 15th of August. I think I need to go down to the Celtic Superstore and buy a Adamida shirt with number 9 in the back. But I mean, I think in terms of Adamida, David, I think it would be a statement of intent. I think it would probably break the transfer record. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think it probably would.
I don't think he'll break the transfer record.
No. I think he's about 6 million. I think the quote that keeps up at Norwich are looking for about that. And our record's 9 million. I can't see it's going 10 million.
I can't see it now. No.
I don't know. Because see if I know people were saying a few weeks ago that we offered 4 million. I don't know if we did or if it was just paper talk. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we can get the deal over the line, and I think it will happen 15th of August.
I know it's not my money, but I'd be pretty disappointed if Celtic bent over to 9 million for Adamita, if I'm honest. Like, I think he's good. I think I'd certainly want him in. But I mean, I think they were saying they wanted about 3 million before he went out on loan to Celtic to go. They come back and said they want 9. I think they can shove it. Like, I mean, fuck off. Like, 6 million definitely. Like I said, it's not my money. I don't give a fuck what we pay for him. Really, in reality, like, I want him in, but fuck off. Like, 9 million. But then again, I did argue this case, Phil. He arguably had more of an impact on loan than Odds Edward had on his loan spell before we signed them for 9 million. So
it definitely did.
So yeah, I mean, I'd be like, come on, man, 9. You wanted 3? Fuck off. Deal with people on that bloody Facebook marketplace. Come on.
The beauty from Norwich's side of not negotiating a fee to buy at the time. Remember when we said when we brought Eder in and there was no option to buy, it was just a loan, and this is played into their hands now because he's came up here, he's had a good run of it, he's a massive reason as to why our season finished the way it did. Now Norwich can just be like, right, okay, you want him, well then. This is his value's been pushed up a little bit, and they know that Celtic want him. But I think it will happen, and I think it will be about 5.5 to 6 million. I think we'll negotiate. There'll be some sort of sell-on clause definitely thrown in there, but similar to what we've had to do with Paulo Bernardo. Essentially, we've lowered the fee, but we've had to add in a few meaty clauses to appease Benfica. So maybe something for Norwich. But it's like, right, well, if we give you this, but you can get this sale on, because I'd be quite confident we can make a profit on the guy, Adam Ida, when he gets sold, no doubt, in a few years' time. I hate to talk like that, but sadly, that's just where Celtic are in the food chain. It's just the reality of it. But if he gives us a good 2 or 3 years, great, brilliant.
I'm making a bold prediction about. I reckon he'll move from Belgium to Italy for about 40 million euros in the next 2 years.
Oh, don't say that.
That's just their luck. That's just what happens. We get rid of these guys, like, he was shite. Just get rid of him. 2 million, cheers. Yeah. It's like you'll see on Sky Sports one day that Juventus or somebody signed for 40 million just to fill a shirt, and you're like, how has that happened? Like, what has he been doing over in Belgium that he's been? But that's what fucking happens. Crazy transfer market.
Don't forget, somebody that played for Brendan Rodgers in his first time now played for you. For Juventus.
Timo Weah.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Right. Yep.
So yes. See?
Yeah.
See? That's Spanish. Anyway, Gary Brown asks, let's just have a little debate. Did O really get enough of a chance at Celtic?
I would say yes, because if the manager really thought he was that good, then it would be in.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 managers look at him. I mean, Ange brought him in, and I really wanted O to do well. I was really hoping that, I'm sure we all did. But you just get one of those underdog. You're like, I really want O to do well. Like, I hope he comes on and scores today. But I don't think anybody wants anybody to fail in a Celtic shirt. Unless you're Mickey Johnson. Anyway,
oh man,
joking. Yeah, I don't know. Like he said, there was this whole argument that his goals to game ratio or goals to minute ratio was really, really good. But like Regan said, Phil, he was scoring goals. And was there any goal that he scored that was proper of importance to us? I think maybe once.
I can think of one. St Mirren.
Halloween
last year, around Halloween time, we had a bit of a sticky tie against St Mirren at Celtic Park, and it was just after the stuff with the Green Brigade started, because the other supporters group boys did a walkout early on just after St Mirren scored, and he scored about 5 minutes to go on the clock to come back and win it 2-1 for us. Yang looked really good that night as well. I remember Yang coming on, and that was where we thought, Yang's turned the corner. Then he got a wee run of games, and then he fell away as well. But it was that night. And also, I want to say this last season, when we win the league at Tynecastle last season under Ange, the Ange season. I think he scored in that to make it 2-0, which you could say is quite vital. But everything else, what Regan says, right? I mean, he scored 2 in the 6-0 win over Aberdeen when we were 4-0 up already and stuff like that. So he was doing things like that. But yeah, the St Mirren game last season and the Hearts game the season before were probably his most important goals. They came at vital times.
At any point when we were really struggling to score, and it was looking like we were going to drop points again, were you hanging your hat on O coming on and grabbing us a winner?
No.
Did you feel confident? It's just like we've got O to come off the bench and really, whereas you did when Giacomakis came on. You did go, right, well, He'll do it. He'll grab us a goal.
David, to sum it up, there was a game last season. I said to my mate Chris, that sits next to me at the games. I can't remember which one it was, but basically we're in a bit of a predicament. And I says, if O comes on, the first thing he'll do probably is give away a foul because he was too erratic. He was too raw. The word raw keeps coming up. Whereas, we need a composed head right now to try and bail us out. But he's more likely to come on, and the first thing he'll do is give away a foul because he's too eager to go and win the ball, and the defender will just throw himself to the ground and get himself a free kick. So, and to be fair, I think that's exactly what happened. O did come on, and not long after he came on, gave away a foul right away. So that's the type of thing that I was thinking when O was on the bench as an option. So I'm not hanging my hat on him to be the one to turn this around. I'm hoping that he will, but you're not confident of it.
Well, he reminds me, he's miles from this level, but Phil, we've been laughing through the Euros that Memphis Depay thinks he's LeBron James with that headband and stuff, and you keep saying that he's got the confidence of Lionel Messi, but the ability of Emil Heskey or something. Is that what you've been saying?
I think I said Andy Carroll. I mean,
Andy Carroll.
It's probably a better player than Andy Carroll, but it does feel like his end product is lacking. But he conveys himself like he is Lionel Messi or Ronaldo or something.
I think that's what Ole was doing. Just pulling up the shorts all the time and all this kind of stuff. Like he had the confidence to be Ronaldo, but in reality, nah, you ain't that, mate. You ain't that. But we'll move on. We will move on to another. Looks like it's a done deal. We can finally stop talking about him after today, hopefully. Certainly on speculation. But apparently Celtic have agreed a deal to sign midfielder Bernardo from Benfica. I did find it funny that the women that reported it today called him Paul Bernardo. It's like not very Portuguese, but okay. We're signing Paul Bernardo. We're not getting Paulo. We're getting Paul. I hope that's what we're all going to just call him now. From now on, just Paul. So yeah, Celtic have agreed an initial fee of $3.5 million for Paul, and it is understood that add-ons to the deal and personal terms with the 22-year-old are still to be agreed. Portuguese is said to be keen to rejoin Celtic, where he spent last season on loan. Well, finally, mate.
Finally, mate. Yeah, see the saga of the summer. I didn't have that on my bingo card a few weeks ago that this would drag on and on. I thought that was a slam dunk. I thought that would be one and done right away, but it's dragged on a wee bit. Then whatever story you want to believe, did Celtic, move the goalposts? Benfica moved them. Anyway, it's going to happen now, and I'm happy about it. I think he showed enough last season that he can contribute. If you take some of his big moments away that he did contribute, our season doesn't go the way it does. And I am predicting now that if he does get that 30 or so games this season and is given a more prominent role in the team, which you'd expect, given there's probably another midfielder in the team right now that's probably going to leave, I think we will see the best of Paulo Bernardo. I think he will turn into a very good player for us, and the end of the season we'll be talking about fantastic season that he's had. I've just got that feeling that he is going to develop into something really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's like we said last week, he's certainly shown glimpses of what he's capable of, Regan, and hopefully he is going to get more game time this season. I imagine he will if we've chased him this entire summer, the transfer saga that is Paul Bernardo. Regan, you happy to see that the deal's finally getting done?
Yeah, I mean, people forget that Paulo Bernardo done really well in the Scottish Cup final as well to put that shot away and then at the media to get out the end of it. So I think Bernardo is a very good player. I think as well, like I said this time last week, that I mean, you're not the Portuguese under-21 skipper if you're not a very good player. So I think if Portugal have got a lot of self-belief that Bernardo's a good player, then so have I, because he scored a lot of important goals, especially against Rangers when Matt O'Reilly and Cal McGregor was injured. He really stepped in there and did really well, and he also played in the Champions League matches as well because McGregor wasn't ready as well. So I think Bernardo could play a vital role next season because, like I said last week, I don't think Matt O'Reilly or Rio Atati will be at Celtic long term. I think Rio Atati will possibly be there for one more season, and I think Matt O'Reilly will be away by probably 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, we'll certainly have a quick conversation about Matt O'Reilly because that just seems to be bubbling on a fair bit. Before we do that, Ian McIntosh has pointed out that Paul Bernardo is an infamous Canadian serial killer. So, yeah, we'll maybe not call him Paul. No.
And somebody else pointed out in the chat as well, and I was trying to rack my brain. I had a vague recollection of this boy playing for Aberdeen, a boy named Paul Bernard. Played for Aberdeen in the sort of late 90s, yeah. I think so, the early 2000s. But yeah, somebody in the chat said that as well. And in my head, I was like, there was definitely a player, Paul Bernard, and I'm sure it was Aberdeen he was at. So that's confirmed there. Yeah. But the thing is with Bernardo is also as well, I go to say his name, I'm always feeling quite to say Bernardo Silva, and then I'm like, I wish it was Bernardo Silva. It's always just feels like it's going to roll off the tongue when I go to say his name. I need to stop myself all the time.
Well, it could be like Thiago Home and just start adding silver at the end if it makes him feel like he's a better player than he is. Then cool. Yeah. That's Sean calling Bernardo Silva if you want. So speaking of we'll say Matt O'Reilly, there's been a fair few more clubs being added to the list of potential suitors, including Atalanta and Juventus. Now, my understanding is Atalanta were interested in Bernardo there, in Matt O'Reilly because they were losing Cooper minors to Juventus.
Okay.
And that's why they were wanting. That's why they've identified Matt O'Reilly to replace Cooper minors. However, that's why Juventus have suddenly went, well, we'll just forget about Cooper minors and we'll go for Matt O'Reilly. That's what people are saying. But according to the latest reports from La Gazzetta dello Sport, Celtic and Atalanta are dancing between the fee of Scottish clubs, between the Scottish club want compared to what the current Europa League holders are offering. The Scottish champions are reportedly after €24 million, which equates to 20 million pounds, with a further €3 million in add-ons. The Serie A side are offering €18 million, with a further €3 million in add-ons. It's not known if there's a sell-on clause and if that's included in the offer, but what is clear is that both clubs are quite a fair distance between. But it's still early. It's still early in the stages of negotiations, apparently, according to this report I've got in front of me. Still, Atalanta, I mean, I think Serie A is quite still an attractive league to go play your football in. They'll be playing Champions League football next season, Atalanta, so they've got that to add to their list of reasons to sign for their club. Is it a good move for Matt O'Reilly to go there? And realistically, are Celtic going to get what they're wanting for Matt O'Reilly if it's to believed to be around €24 million, which is only around about 20 odd million pounds?
Yeah, I think Celtic will get that asking price. Whether it is Atalanta, who knows? But I mean, it's not the. I think there was a talk last week when that rumour first came up that the player doesn't really want to go to Atalanta, but they're definitely a team that are in the right place these days. I mean, a good 10 years ago or so, they were like bottom end Serie A, but they've been consistent in the Champions League recently, and they absolutely brushed Leverkusen aside in that Europa League final. It wasn't even close for all the hype Leverkusen had. So they're definitely no mugs. And hey, we could cross their path next season in the Champions League. Who knows? As they are regulars there. So they're definitely not the worst level. If Juventus are looking at them, though, then that is a different story because they are like the premier team in Italy, regardless, may not be the champions just now, but they are one of the go-to teams. So either way, Italian football is still a very attractive prospect. You've got to remember what the Denmark manager did say about his international chances. If he wants to bed himself in there, then he needs to be playing at a higher standard. So we'll see if that weighs on his mind, if that makes him decide. But I think it is inevitable he will go, and Celtic will get the asking price eventually for him. So he was about 20 million. Yeah, I know some fans have been saying 30 to 40 million. I think Mark was saying it last week in the TNF. You can understand why some of our fans will be saying that, but I don't think we're going to get 30 to 40 million. But it's still a hell of a good bit of business from Celtic's point of view. And the thing that I just fear the most is this doesn't rumble on till days before deadline day. Because if it does, that's a problem. If it gets done quickly, it gives us a bit of time here to manoeuvre and try and get somebody else. Because I've said as well about Paulo Bernardo. He's a good start, but he shouldn't be the end when it comes to a midfield recruitment. So I'd like to think that there's something else in the wings that should Matt O'Reilly be going, then we have enough time to bring in an adequate replacement for him.
I think we do. Even let's just say, Phil, you just said there that we don't want it to go to the end of the window where we don't have time to replace him. I still think even with Matt O'Reilly still at the club, we should still be identifying and just getting in that. I mean, we did it with the Juranovic situation, but it was fairly obvious to everybody that he was going to be leaving the club, and they were proactive and they got Alistair Johnson in. So, and it's not a case of, oh well, I hope we don't wait till the end of the window. We get all that money and we can't spend it because we know Regan at Celtic have the funds. Now, I'm just looking up what the latest situation is with the Cooper Miners deal. Apparently, Arne Slot is also interested in bringing him to Liverpool, and that was 7 hours ago by the Liverpool Echo. And on UVFC.com, Cooper Miners is urging Atalanta to lower the asking price so he can get moved to Juventus. So it's looking more and more likely that he will be leaving, or he will certainly be. He's pushing for a move to leave Atalanta. So I mean, I can see Regan, Matt O'Reilly being a real lucrative and favourable player to go for if they do lose their man. Now, let's remember, this is the guy that we played against. He's faced Celtic faced Cooper Miners 2 seasons ago. I think he was at AZ Alkmaar at the time, Phil.
Yep.
And then got his move to Atalanta, who's now potentially getting moved to Juventus or perhaps Liverpool. Matt O'Reilly will be well aware of that. Atalanta is a very good stepping stone if you're wanting to get to an even bigger club.
Yes.
We will talk about people using Celtic as a stepping stone to get some Champions League experience and then maybe getting a better move. Atalanta can certainly offer the same in a far nicer, warmer climate. Regan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Atalanta's a great example. Look at Lookman that went to Everton, then he went to Atalanta. Look at Christian Romero. Nobody was taking him. Now he just won the Copa America back with Argentina. You've got loads of players that Atalanta have took, and they're a kind of, I wouldn't say that they're in Celtic Sport, that they're a feeder club, but they're a sort of club that knows their boundaries, and they've got a very good manager as well that likes to develop young players. So I think it'd be a perfect move for Matt O'Reilly as well. But I do think from the player's point of view, I don't think he's as attractive as possibly a bigger club like a Juventus or something like that, because I think as well you need to look at who their manager's going to be. I think Thiago Motta. Now don't forget that Thiago Motta, he loved what Lewis Ferguson brought last season at Bologna, and I'm sure he's looking at Matt O'Reilly and saying that he can make him a really good player as well. So I don't think Matt O'Reilly will be far off of many clubs drawing attention to him, because he's had a very good season.
He's come in and said that he still thinks it'll be Southampton. I'm not sure about. I mean, I can understand why, because Southampton have obviously come in and taken a fair few players from us over the years. But at that time, Southampton were quite a prominent club in the Premier League. They hadn't just come up. I don't think they offer the same level of what Virgil van Dijk and what Wanyama were able to receive. I mean, let's remember, this is a Southampton side that's been managed by what's his name, the former Norwich player?
Russell Martin.
This ain't Pochettino's Southampton we're talking about here. I just don't see it being the same level of attractiveness. I mean, obviously it's a Premier League club, but I think if he's getting a Premier League club, I think he can shoot for a bit higher than a Southampton now. I mean, if he's getting offers from Atalanta, and we'll just say Juventus, I mean, I take that one with a little pinch of salt that a Juventus is coming straight in for. But Atletico Madrid, Atalanta, or Southampton. I mean, I don't know. I think there'll be more Premier League clubs coming in from, to be honest, but I think slightly higher than bottom of the table, just newly promoted sides. Last on the agenda that I've got here, and there's not much else other than a wee bit of rumours that we've had in the last day or two, is Royal Antwerp CEO, I'm going to try to say his name, has warned suitors of Michel-Ange Balikwisha that they will have to pay a large transfer fee amid links with a move to Celtic. The wingers caught the eye in Belgium last season as he netted 7 and assisted 6, as well as showing that he can make his mark on the Champions League, chipping in with 1 goal in Europe's elite competition. And we all looked at his highlights because, I mean, he looks,
of course,
again, as always on YouTube, they look class. But he looks quick, he looks direct. Apparently, he's good with both feet, Phil. Quite the handful by the looks of it. Got an eye for goal. I like the look of him. Very Scott Sinclair-esque almost from what I've seen in the clips, Phil. Early stages yet in terms of just rumours. It might end up being just another player that we're linked with for the transfer window. But I mean, he looked exciting.
Yeah, the encouraging thing is it's a position that we definitely need to address in terms of wingers, wing forwards. Saying he's obviously good with both feet. I know people are saying, "Oh, we need a right winger and stuff," but if the guy can play, he's confident on both sides, then he can fill in either side. So to me, it's encouraging that at least getting linked with players in that position is definitely one of those. And yeah, if it seems like the type of exciting player that can, that he'll get fans on board. Obviously, they're talking quite a meaty transfer fee. I think people did their research. And I know the website Transfer Markt, you don't necessarily need to go by their and take them at face value, but they're saying like 9 million is sort of like his market value at the moment. I don't know if it would end up being that, but again, it's encouraging that we are looking at players in that position, and a player of that profile is the type of thing that will get fans excited. So yeah, we should wait and see with that one. And so it's just one of these, as you just pointed out, it could just be nothing. It could go nowhere. And next week we're linked with somebody else. Like the goalkeeper one, where all weeks after week we had different names. It could now turn into the wingers. So every single week it's a different winger we get linked with. But yeah, we'll just wait and see on that one.
But what Stephen Kennedy says is very, very true. We've been linked with goalkeepers, we've been linked with left wingers, but we haven't been linked with a single left back yet, Regan. Now, does that concern you as much as concerns Stephen Kennedy? It's concerning me. I mean, like, I'm quite happy to have Greg Taylor, who's not signed a new contract or been offered a new contract yet, by the way. Let's not forget that. At the rate it's going, we're going to have, well, I'm not going to say his name on the podcast anymore. Mark will just appear from behind me, but don't. A certain other Argentinian left back. At this rate, we've got just Greg Taylor, who I think is more than capable of playing that position, as we've seen. However, we certainly need somebody to compete for the jersey. I'm not going to say backup. We don't need a backup left back. We need somebody that's going to take the jersey from Greg Taylor. And maybe that's what Greg Taylor needs to just get him to that next level. Regan, what's going on with the left back situation?
I think it's something that Brendan Rodgers has known for a while as well. And I think it's something that I mentioned last week as well. Brendan Rodgers said in the press conference a few weeks ago that he wants competition around all the areas, and I think that's what's something they need to do. And I think it's something that they possibly got away with last year, but I don't think Brendan Rodgers is wanting to take any chances this season. I think he wants to win this league properly and show everybody that Brendan Rodgers is back.
I just want to make an announcement that 2 minutes ago Celtic have just released that picture that we've all seen online. That's on Celtic's official Facebook page. That
was the picture they put out. They didn't do like some fancy graphic.
Nope, it says, here's a picture that you may have seen before.
Right, okay, so they've done it that way.
But that's on the Celtic's official Facebook page that just popped up on my phone. Just released pictures of them getting on the looks like a bus.
David, I'll need to chin Peter for not doing a fancy graphic, mate. I'll need to pull him up for that one.
I mean, I like the fact they've just cared about, like, you've all seen it.
Aye.
Somebody's taking it for both. So, yeah, it's official. They've actually announced a signing.
Well, hey, breaking news. Oh, wait, have we not got the graphic for that one? We do, don't we? We've got there you go.
Breaking news.
Yes, indeed. There you go.
About time we got to use that actually worked.
I know. I've only used it once, which was back in the transfer window deadline night we did with the yellow ties and everything. Just to announce Paulo Bernardo had signed on a loan, which was a worst kept secret as well. Remember that?
I'm looking forward to the generic questions that he'll be asked.
Oh God, did you speak to Timu Pukki before you joined? That's going to be one of them, isn't it?
He said, "Don't go, don't go, go to Norwich instead."
Yeah. Have we had any other Finnish players other than Timu Pukki? I don't think we have.
He's not Finnish. He's Scottish.
He's not Finnish. He's only 22. That's going to happen. It's going to be the pattern. It just is. But I can't think. I only Teemu Pukki is the only Finnish player I think we've actually had at Celtic. But yeah, that'll be one of Jerry's 6 generic questions. Oh, did you speak to Teemu Pukki before joining? Definitely. Put your money on that one.
That's a definite. Well, good timing for Celtics. That's bang on the hour. Regan, have you got? Looks like you're keen to say something. You got something to add before we leave?
No, David, I'm all good.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Well, it's been a blockbuster night tonight, I'd say. Lots to talk about, and finished up with an official signing. So it's almost as if we planned it. I believe there is a carpool episode being released tomorrow morning.
Yeah, recorded that, so I'll need to put it tomorrow morning because Under the Bonnet is tomorrow evening. So
yes, we've got an Under the Bonnet. I think is it Mick that's on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so that'll be so good to get another Under the Bonnet episode back in, and then of course we'll have the TNF with the judge.
I imagine Russell will be back on after his Torremolinos gallivanting. He'll be back.
Yeah, yep. And then is Friday feeling on just now, Phil?
I might have something planned on Friday. Friday feeling supposed to be a preview for the game, but there is no games to preview right now, and I'm not doing ones for friendlies. I'm just not. I might have a nostalgia episode. I might have something up my sleeve for that, but we'll wait and see at the moment.
You've got Kasper Schmeichel up your sleeve.
Maybe, aye.
It has. There's Russell still in the chat. He says that flew in. That did fly in.
Yeah,
that was a quick one. It's one of those ones where it's like, what are we going to talk about tonight, Phil? But Celtic delivered and they gave us plenty to talk about. So thanks everybody for joining us again, and we shall see you next week on the Tuesday Ticket. In the meantime, take care.
catch you later.